Hi, thanks for tuning in to Girls Who Gab with Habs and Muffy. Today we're talking about what we're up to this spring. And now that we're halfway into spring, maybe what we're going to be up to this summer. Stay tuned. It's quite the season. Hey Habs, it's Muffy. Yes, spring. It's whizzing on by. I think it came in March, and here we are at the very end of April. So we're well into it. And we've gotten past the big Easter holiday, if people celebrate that. And we're heading into May, which I'm thinking is sort of an exciting time for you and your family because it's coming on the end of the school year. Although I don't think your girls get out until mid-June, but that's still spring. So I'm sure you're looking forward to a lot of year-end stuff with the girls. I know it's not quite like it's going to be next year as T ends her high school career, but it's still, I'm sure there are things going on as the school year ends. So I'm curious what you're up to during this kind of late spring phase and maybe what you're going to be up to in early summer. Gosh, I don't even know. I feel like it's still January of 2025. I'm like, how is it that it's going into May? The time just flies. But I am very happy to enjoy this beautiful weather that's coming on, longer days. I myself love humidity. So just trying to feel the humidity in the air, the warm, just lighter clothes. I'm just loving that. I hate to see that go. Now that I'm back on the East Coast, I've just missed it so much when I lived in the Pacific Northwest. It's just always low cloud, gray, cool, always in a jacket unless you're directly in the sun. I know people say to me, oh, the weather's beautiful out here, but for me, beauty is actually sunshine out, hot and humid all day, every day. That's what I want. So starting to feel that right now as late spring's coming on, and certainly looking forward to it in early summer into summer. So weather's on my mind, of course. What else am I looking forward to? Well, I'm about to take off actually for that other coast, the West Coast, for a while. What's nice is I work on both coasts through telehealth, Seattle and New Jersey, where I live. And so I get a chance to see people in person and work out of Seattle. So I will be in Seattle for a couple of weeks. I've just complained about the Seattle weather, and I am kind of cursing it because I know when I look at that weather report, it's just not going to be in the 80s like it's going to be here next week. It's going to be cloud in the morning and then maybe the beautiful sunshine and like maybe 70, but it'll be a cold 70 because there's no humidity. So I was just saying to RK this morning, actually, that, maybe we should always head back to Seattle in the winter when it's actually usually a lot more mild than our winters in the East. And then I won't feel like I'm missing out on anything over here. But as it stands, our trip came this spring. Before we head up to Seattle, we will be in California. And again, it's a conference for RK that's taking us out there, and I can work West Coast hours, which is nice because I love Pacific Standard Time. So another thing I'm looking forward to is 3 weeks on Pacific Standard Time. So I'll be in California, seeing a little family, exploring that town. Interestingly enough, my hair person, we know how important the hair person is to women. The one I went to, my hair gal in Seattle, now lives in San Diego and works out of San Diego. So I get to see my hair gal, Elle, and I am so super stoked that I'm going to San Diego and that's where she lives and that's where she does hair today. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But I'm also looking forward to when I go to Seattle, kind of going back to my home self-care places, and particularly for my massage. I used to always get regular massages at a place in my neighborhood. And interestingly enough, she had left to move to Costa Rica, but she still has a stake, I think, in her massage business in Seattle. And so she comes up and works, and she happens to be up in Seattle during May when I'm going to be there. So I cannot even wait to have her hands on me. I can only say that. I'm like, going to be great. So another thing I'm looking forward to is seeing my masseuse in Seattle, who I worked with for years. I mean, that it just feels improbable that we get together and see each other again. But there it is. So these are some of the things I'm looking forward to. I'm also looking forward to seeing my friends in Seattle and having dinner at some of my favorite restaurants, taking in the art scene there, and just some of my favorite. I always have favorite haunts and wherever I'm living. And so I get to kind of, you know, mill around my old haunts, my old neighborhood, and that will be really great. Also, I didn't know her plan till kind of late, so I couldn't really get this arranged, but early, otherwise it'd be looking different. But there is an amazing spa out in Washington State called the Post Hotel. And yes, I will link it up there. I will hashtag that. If you don't know about the Post Hotel, you should know about the Post Hotel. Owned and run by a Canadian corporation. They really know how to do spas, like Nordic spas. And for some reason, they dropped one down in Washington State. Most of their spas, actually, I think all of them outside of this one, are in Canada. And it's just incredible. So, because it's so incredible and kind of really the secret's out about this place, you cannot really get in there. You need for a weekend, you might need to like a year out reservation. You can get in there for like weekdays. But anyway, this was sort of a short notice that we were going to go to Seattle. And so I called up. They do a day pass to their spa, though, if you're staying at their sister hotel. So I was able to get into the sister hotel overnight. So we're going to do a day at the Post Hotel pools, which is like basically all these pools, and it's incredible. So one thing I'm very much looking forward to in May is going for my day at the Post Hotel in Leavenworth, Washington. So check that out. And that is something to definitely get excited over. Although the weather's not going to be as good as what I love out here where I live, I am looking forward to just seeing people in person through my practice, seeing old friends, going to favorite haunts, and just having that high level of self-care with some of my very, very favorite places. So that is one thing I'm very much looking forward to is these next 3 weeks. And then we'll return. And I know by the time I return, it will be really good weather here, which will be just like hallelujah. So then I'm looking forward to a graduation, a family graduation that's coming up. So as soon as we get back the next weekend, we're going to a family graduation, basically like a nephew of ours, not quite a nephew, but like a cousin, but we're older. So in our culture, we're kind of like aunt and uncle to him. So meaning like Southeast Asian culture, Indian culture, where we considered aunt and uncle. And so we're going to go to not his graduation, because his graduation's actually on a weekday, but there's some big kind of graduation party and things, and he's a musician. So we're going to go hear him play and celebrate him. So really looking forward to that this late spring. I mean, that'll be late May. Unfortunately, we had a big family wedding out in California as well over Memorial Day weekend. But since we were already going to California for this conference in late April, early May, we decided to not go to the wedding, but actually take this couple out as again, a cousin of mine removed like a second. What is that? Cousin second removed, I think is what it's actually called. I call her my second cousin, but I think it's cousin removed by two, or I don't know. There's a particular term where it was going over with another family member who's the same thing to me, second removed cousin, named P. So now I'm like, want to say it correctly. I'm not exactly, maybe a listener can correct me. But anyway, this young woman is getting married. I've known her since she was very small. And so I'm going to take them out to dinner and meet her fiance, soon to be husband, and her parents, who are my cousins. He's my cousin, and then his wife, who I know, and then the brother and somebody else. So we can actually have a conversation and get to meet him. And I mean, it's not going to be attending the wedding, but I think there's hundreds of people attending the wedding. So I feel like this is actually maybe a little bit more meaningful in that we get to share time and get to know each other a little bit more. So I'm sorry to miss out on the wedding, but I'm excited to see them and have this dinner when we're out there in early May. So there's always the wedding and graduation season, right, Hab? So there's always something kind of going along this time of year. And then as your girls get out of school, I think mid-June, my birthday is at the end of June, but I'm sort of really excited for my birthday this year, not because I'm a big birthday person, but I've got some good plans and they're taking place in June. So, one is that a friend is going to play for me for my birthday, and she is a violinist and quite talented. She came on my radar when she was doing a concert at Carnegie Hall here in New York City, and she's an incredible young woman, and she said, "I'd like to play for you." And so I thought, what a wonderful thing to have for my birthday, to have her play and have a few. I'm never a big person for like a big party, but it's a few people to appreciate that with me. So that's going to be happening mid-June, which is a kind of an advance of my birthday. But I can only tell you, Habs, I'm so super psyched, and I know you cannot come because you're engaging in something that I'm doing all the time, but I hate, i.e., going to a comedy show. Yes, I do produce comedy shows, although I hate comedy, but you will be at a comedy show. So I'll be very sad that you won't be able to attend, but I do have a nice group forming who will be here with me, and we're just going to have champagne and some birthday cake. It's mid afternoon or late at 4 o'clock. So I'm really like, that's so super special. And then for my actual birthday, which is at the tail end of June, going into your birthday, Habs, which is early July, right there around 4th of July, I'm going to be in Maine. And I'm so super excited about that because I wanted to go to Acadia for a national park for a long time because Arcade and I have done so many of the other parks out west. This was always on my mind, the Great Acadia National Park in Maine. So I'm going to be able to come up and you and I are going to share, I think, my actual birthday together. And you're going to show me what you call it, K-Port, Gennybunkport. And yeah, your cute little jewelry store and all the little shops. And um, I'm just really excited to kind of see your main town through your eyes and celebrate my birthday with you, and then go on up to Bar Harbor, Maine, and go to Acadia. And I'm so super excited because I've just been looking forward to seeing that national park and to spending time with you in Maine. So I'm so super psyched about that. And that will also be over the 4th of July. I sort of made those reservations late. I was like, oh, once I got the West Coast trip plan, I was like, maybe I should start looking into Maine. And thank God I did, because I forget that's like people go up there for these big holiday weeks, like 4th of July. So we got everything got sorted, the hotels, our plans. We do need to get the park pass for Acadia, which I need to do like now. I'm like running through the to-do list there. That's our last to do, but I'm so excited about that. And that will bring us back into like going into like mid-July, and then we'll just be enjoying, summer in the city. And I actually, like I said, I love the city in the summertime with the heat, humidity. So I'll just be working and enjoying. We might go down and see our family in Maryland again because it's always fun. Before the guy who's our nephew or cousin who's graduating, before he started college in the fall. So we might get another weekend in with them. But, New York City is such a great city to just go and explore and do different things and be a tourist in your own city. So I'm sure we'll be doing something along those lines. I think I do want to say Cold Spring, New York, now that you went. I know it's on my mind. And you said summer will be a better time. So maybe a day trip there, maybe some other day trips. I've got a whole list of them. But, it'll just be enjoyable. And then into late summer, we have a very big trip coming, making a bucket list trip for RK, which is to Brazil. So we will be gone in August. But the good thing about Brazil is the weather is going to be really good. So I'm not like last year when we left for a few weeks in August. We were like in Scotland where it was like November weather was terrible. So it will not be as painful to leave beloved New York City in August when you're going to a place with pretty good weather. It's their winter, but it's going to be good weather, and going to be taking a safari to see jaguars in Jaguar Land down there, which is in something called the Pontanal, which I had never heard of until RK put it on my radar. Got some travel, got some good plans, some celebrations, some, touching back to the hometown. It's all good. How about you? What are you looking forward to, Habs?
Hey, Muffy, what am I looking forward to this spring and summer, I think? Yeah, just the end of the year activities and the end of the year coming to an end. Meaning, I like the school year structure, but I also like the summer schedule and structure. It's a little bit more free form and loose. I think with spring break, we all got a little taste of that summer schedule. And it's nice. It's nice for the period of summer, and then it's nice when it's over and everyone goes back to school. There's a lot of things happening this spring. T is going to go to the prom with a boy. I call him boy because he's still a boy. He's not a man yet. But and so that's super exciting. This year, the girls are in grades where there's like a lot of significant things happening. Meaning, like, if you're in 8th grade or you're a senior, there's like graduation ceremonies, special field trips, and all that kind of thing. So we're a little bit in limbo this year because Jay is in 6th grade. She'll be a rising 7th grader, and T is a rising senior. That's what they call it when you're moving to the next grade. This time will not be spent with as many festivities, although my nieces are both graduating. Kay is graduating from high school, and she'll be going to University of West Virginia. And then, F is graduating from high school, not Kay. Kay is graduating from college, and she will be going to Nashville, Tennessee, and she's starting a job as a television producer. In that world, you kind of have to go to these like smaller outlets and then work your way up. I think Kay will eventually want to come back to New York City or the East Coast area, but for now, that's what she's doing. So my brother and wife are throwing a party. We're not going to their actual graduations. It's actually really very difficult to go to other people's graduations. I know, at least for Princeton, they only really allow like maybe 2 tickets. So I don't know what we'll do when T graduates, because obviously we'll take Jay. So I'm not sure exactly. I'll have to ask a couple friends, but it's pretty limited how many people you can actually bring. It's not so open anymore, I think, as it once was, which is sad, but what are you gonna do, right? Oh, and there's also a bunch of birthday parties and to look forward to, mostly for Jay. She and her friends all have their birthdays like in May and June. It's kind of funny that nobody's birthday is at any other time of the year but May and June. So there's a little bit of competition that goes on. But I think it's mostly sorted out. So that's good. But that'll be fun for her. And then she will start Bluefish Swimming, which is a swim team here in town, and she loves doing that. Yeah, I think it's not going to be so hectic. We will have a few things we need to do for T in terms of gearing up for college. That will be maybe a little more stressful, or not stressful, but just stuff we need to stay on top of. It's great that you're going to your nephew's graduation party. I think that's so much fun, and you have quite a bit of plans this spring. It's funny, you talked about planning, and yeah, the other day, one of Jay's friend's mother called me up, and they moved last year from Germany. She is from the US, and her family lives in our town, or her parents and her sister, but her husband's from Germany, and they've been living over there, and she just has really been wanting to come back. She called me the other day to ask about summer camps, and I rattled off all this stuff. Like, oh, well, we're doing this week, and we're doing that week. She's like, wow, you're really all planned and scheduled up. Like, I guess I'm really behind the 8 ball. And I'm like, well, no, not necessarily. As the kids get older, it's a little easier, but there are certain things that do fill up fast. And when I moved from California, I just had this mindset that like things were going to fill up in classes because they always seem to do that in Silicon Valley. So I, for years, have had our summer plans like pretty much scheduled out for the whole summer by the latest of February. And then A usually books everything in March. So I've always been that way because I needed to know, because both A and I were working full time, that my girls had something to do, especially when they were younger. It's shifted a lot, and it's kind of weird and uncomfortable for me in some ways. But last summer was kind of the first real experience where I didn't have a lot of things planned. This year, I'm a little bit more comfortable, but it's still, I feel like a fish out of water. So it's just funny. Like, we usually plan everything out in advance. My summer plans could change depending on whether or not I get a new job, but maybe I won't, and we can continue on with them. But I think the most thing that I'm looking forward is to going to Maine, of course. I mean, Maine has a lot of memories for my family. A and I got married in Maine on my in-laws' property, and I have to admit, I felt it was beautiful. I think people had a very good time, but very fun memories. A and I, when we were childless, we would just drive up there for a weekend, like literally from New Jersey, and it's like 6 hours, 6.5, sometimes 7. Every once in a while, 12. Don't like those trips. But we would go just because we wanted to be up there. We even went in the winter a couple of times. It's a little bleak in the winter, I admit, at least if you were to stay for a long period of time. But, and then with my girls, we've gone to Maine pretty much since they were little. I mean, even T, when we lived on the West Coast, we came to Maine a few times. So that's what they know. So we are very grateful to have access to this property, and A's parents love to have their kids enjoying it. But 4th of July is such a great time. Yes, your birthday's right around then. I'm so excited that I may be spending your birthday with you up in Cape Port. It's so much fun. I can't wait for that. And then my birthday is right after the 4th of July. And then Jay's birthday is like 2 weeks. Well, no, like a week and a half after the 4th. And, where my in-laws are, they're right on the ocean. I mean, they bought this place before the market turned up and just went gangbusters. So they hit it at the right time. I mean, I would say it's probably doubled in value by now, but they live on this dead-end dirt road. There's only probably about 10 houses. In fact, we invited all the people that lived on the street to our wedding because we kind of had to close it off. We had a big tent, and we got married out by the rocks. And if you know anything about Maine, Maine is known for its rocky coastline, and there are some beautiful large rocks outside at my in-laws' place that kids love to go sit on, and people come and go fishing. We've even had people come and taken their wedding pictures there, which was a little odd because it is private property. I mean, they actually did ask us, but we've had other people come and they just kind of go out and stand on the rocks and take a picture. Now the house is set back, then there's the road, and then they own this other piece of kind of grassy lawn, and they put out Adirondack chairs, and then you have the rocks and the ocean. And my biggest thing, so it really doesn't look like public property, but people just kind of think it. It's like one time we had a couple, they were out there like kind of making out, like, and an older couple. I mean, not old, but I want to say like 60s. They were like making out and being all lovey-dovey and taking pictures of themselves. So weird. Yes, and their house has this huge window that overlooks this, the scene and everything and the water. And I was about to say, but my favorite thing is at the end of the day to go out there with a glass of wine and a book. And sometimes I read, and sometimes I just look at the water. I do have to say, when I go to Maine, I read the most books that I read all year because, I'm not at home and I'm just in a relaxing place. and we have the beach nearby. I mean, it's just our little slice of heaven. And the 4th of July is just one of my favorite holidays because growing up, I was used to going to, like, the local parade. My parents had a place on the vineyard, and I was in the parade a lot of times. And then they had huge fireworks, and Maine has the same thing. They have the cutest little 4th of July parade that anybody can go into. In fact, one year, A and his brothers and all of our kids actually were in the parade. We haven't done that in a long time. Maybe we'll do that this year because everybody is planning to come out around the 4th of July. So, yeah, it's probably one of my most favorites. And then throughout the summer, I mean, we're not going on any big trips. We're just scaling back right now on our spending. But we will try to go to Maine a few more times. T wants to take her friends up there, and Jay has a couple of friends she wants to take up, and A and I actually have some friends. I don't know if all those plans are going to work out or not. I hope they do. They may not. It just really depends. But so I've got a lot of things, all things Maine. And then, of course, the looming fall of college applications. So one thing I won't miss of the spring is the pollen. Now, I don't really have spring allergies, but excuse me, I keep clearing my throat because there's so much pollen that has fallen in my neighbor. That rhymes, ha ha ha. And there's so much pollen and all over, and it's blanketed everything. Like, we put out our furniture, our patio furniture, and the cushions are just blanketed with the pollen. Our cars and everything. And our porch, it's just dirty. I will look forward to when that's over. But it does sound like you have a ton of fun adventures coming up. California being one of them. Seattle, going to Acadia. I've never been, actually. And then Brazil. Yeah, I've also not heard of the Pantanal. I'm going to have to look it up. But that sounds super exciting to see jaguars, although a little bit scary. I mean, are you scared a little bit? Another place I really like in the summer is New York City. I remember I went there one time to meet up with a friend, M. She had, I think it was like her 40th birthday, and she lived in Hong Kong at the time, and she was home for the summer. And so we met up in August, and it was so quiet. I mean, it was super warm. I love that as well. But it was quiet, but still there were people out and about, and it felt totally relaxed. Oftentimes, like, New York City just feels so hustle, bustle, but it just felt relaxed. Granted, we weren't in Times Square. I think we were down, like, in the southern part of Manhattan, the shopping district, that area. But yeah, I love it there in the summer. So I think, there's a lot of things to look forward to when spring comes along. My favorite season is the summer, but it gives a different vibe. It's, ever since living in California, I love being outside. I love the sun, and I love the warmth. I mean, it doesn't have to be super hot, but I don't like it cold. It's just, because like that, California, it's just like all that outdoor living. Like, if I could, I would be outdoors most of the time. I just love the outdoor living and that lifestyle. So I am jealous that you are out on the West Coast, because it is definitely one of my favorite places. At least California. I'm not a huge fan of Seattle, and I apologize only because I've had some negative experiences, which I won't go into here, but your Post Hotel does sound pretty amazing. And I did look that up, and that looks uber nice. So yeah, exciting times. It's just an exciting time of the year. To me, that represents, like, there's no must-dos, there's no you have to do this. The schedule is just a little bit more freeing and flexible, and I think that's what I really like. And another reason that I really like the kind of spring/summer time of year. What about you, Muffy? Besides the weather, what draws you to the summer, and how do you feel about it?
Hey, Habs, it's Muffy. Well, you do have a lot to look forward to later this spring and into the summer. And yes, I definitely remember your beautiful wedding in Maine. And I think I remember the rocks, but I'm really looking forward to this summer, seeing everything that you've talked about here and just having it come alive. And I'm really excited for Arcade to be up there too. I don't know. I think you know that when we first started seeing each other, I invited him to your wedding because you had said I could bring one person and we had just started getting together. And so he was coming from Australia to do his fellowship in Canada, and he really tried to make it, but just couldn't figure that out. I mean, he really knew nothing about America or its geography at that time. So it was all kind of like he just didn't know anything, but he couldn't make it work, which is too bad. So it's been, like 23 years because that was 2002. Your anniversary was 23 years ago. Ours is 22. So, finally, all these many years later, he's going to see where he was going to come for our first, like event like that. So I just think it's kind of interesting. And I'm really, really excited to kind of have a refresh on Maine and the house and the property and just the whole thing because it just hasn't been something I have been to, very often, only that one time actually. And yeah, I've never been up to Acadia or Bar Harbor, Maine, which is where we're going to stay, but I've always heard about it. So I'm super excited for Maine, and I know you are. I know that's your tradition and your happy place and just so many memories. And I love how you always bring up your 4th of July memories and the whole little parade with the candy. And I remember that one summer I spent with you on Martha's Vineyard. And I remember that 4th of July parade and the candy and how sweet. And I'm so glad that Maine, your town in Maine, also offered that to your girls. And just kind of that old fashioned 4th of July parade and fireworks and just fun. It really is so fun up there. Even Cape Cod's amazing around the 4th of July. So, yeah, we'll be up in Acadia and Bar Harbor on 4th of July, and we're looking forward to it very much, and I know you are as well. I had no idea that you couldn't get more than, like, 2 tickets to high school graduation. I remember when my niece, graduated from high school, gosh, it must be 3 years ago now. We had my brother and sister-in-law, her parents, RK and I, and then I think another aunt of hers, H. I think maybe it was just us plus the 3. I don't know. My parents were gonna go, but then they really couldn't go because of mobility issues and this hot sun and everything. So they didn't end up going, so maybe that's how some other people got to go, but I know they at least had 6 or 8 tickets. I can't believe you guys only get 2. Or you can only bring maybe 2 people? Maybe it's the 2 of you, you and A, and then you can bring 2 people? So, of course, Jay, I'm wondering if the grandparents. Wow, that times have changed for sure. And yes, you have a lot to be happening, but not as much as you would have when it's like a graduation year. And yeah, thanks for letting me know about your nieces, both graduating from high school and from college. And it sounds like a really exciting opportunity in Nashville for your elder niece. Very cool. Yeah, I'm sure that'll be a big graduation party, and it's a double one. I know with your girls being, I think, 5 years apart, they don't do that graduation thing the same time, which is probably nice. So, T will get to have it all to herself next year when she graduates from high school, and then the year later, J will get to have it all when she graduates from 8th grade. So I like how it's staggered like that for them. But yeah, it's going to be real, real busy. And prom is very exciting with the boy. I like that we're going to call him the boy. And he and her are the boy and the girl. So that's really exciting, the prom. And also just everything that's going to go into this year for her to go off to college. It's just, there's a lot coming. I know you didn't go into everything, but it's going to be a big time in your family's life, in T's life, and in your life as the mother of T. And I'm really looking forward to having a front row seat and being with you and walking alongside you as you are with her in this kind of momentous year. I've seen, like I said, our nephew or cousin, cousin Z going through that this year with his parents, and now he's come out to the other side of it, and they all come through it. It's a stressful year, but they all land, it seems, and get to put the poster up or the billboard up of the school they've chosen in the front yard, which was something we never did, but seems to be the thing these days. And so it's super, super exciting. And I mean, it'll have stress, but it'll also be a very exciting time. So, and I totally get too how you like the freedom of summer and the summer schedule, but then you also appreciate everyone kind of going back to school, back to work, and getting back into the flow of things in September. It was funny when you were talking about like, oh, it's just such a free time and everything. I don't doesn't feel like spring necessarily is. It feels like when the girls get out, but maybe it is feeling freer. I was just kind of curious about that. Because it still seems like there's quite a lot to do between now and when the school gets out. So I just wanted to ask you about that. Um, yes, I'm already on this first leg of my West Coast foray, and I'm in San Diego actually, and it's very cold out here. No, it's not very cold, but it's kind of typical marine layer, low 60s, some wind. When you're in the sun, it's warm and nice. When you're not, you wish you were. And I'm trying to get used to Pacific Standard Time, which is 3 hours behind the East Coast, not in front of the East Coast, not ahead of the East Coast. So that's been kind of tripping me up for some reason. I don't know why. So getting on the time zone, getting into the West Coast marine layer life, it's not going to be better up in the Pacific Northwest. But when it gets sunny down here and the sun comes out, it is nice. So I will take that. I will take that and I will run with it. It's interesting, like thinking about seasons and like this season feels nice. I'm not a huge fan of spring. I mean, I herald summer coming and I like it more on the East Coast because we do get some really warm days. Like last week, we had something in the 80s and I could feel the humidity coming. And I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I love it. But the back and forth with the cold and then it gets, windy and then the rain and then it gets really hot. And like, I just want it to make up its mind. So spring weather can be kind of tough for me and I don't really look forward to it. I hear you with the pollen. I don't suffer from the allergies so much, but I know a lot of people who do, and I can imagine you are. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of spring. It's funny. I do love Easter and all the flowers are coming out. It's something about the weather in springtime drives me crazy. I do like summer, not as much as I like fall. But I do on the East Coast now that I'm back, love the hot, humid weather. Yes, I do love the humidity. I don't want to ever have to wear a coat during summer, and I don't have to where I live right now right outside New York City. So I'm a little up in the air, a little tossed up about spring, but I know surely it's on its way. And when we return in mid-May, I know it's going to be super nice out there. And I'll be looking forward to it because I used to always look at the weather report this time of year when I lived in Seattle, looking at the East Coast and the Midwest, seeing how nice it was getting and just be like, oh, it's still gray and low cloud and cool and rainy out here. And even when they talk about it being nice out in Seattle, it's nice at like 2 p.m. and it's like 65 degrees. And then as soon as the sun goes down, it's like gone, and there's no humidity. So this was always the hardest part of the year for me was April, May, June. July and August too, if it never really got any sunshine, and there were the years like that. So I don't need to bring it back around to weather, but it says a lot about what we do look forward to and what we don't look forward to. So I am just grateful that spring is here because spring means summer is not far behind.
Buffy, I think what I meant by talking about how I feel more free and life becomes more flexible in the spring and into summer, obviously, is that I do everything when it comes to the holidays for the family. So leading off with Halloween, then Christmas, and then T's birthday and Valentine's Day, and then Easter. I get like a little bit of a break or a reprieve until July when it's Jay's birthday. And so that always makes me just like kind of sigh, like, how I got through all that stuff. Now, granted, all those things are changing as they're getting older, but still, it's just a sense of like, as much as I love the milestones, I also like, they stress me out a little bit because I like to make them nice and special. I also think, now especially, in past years, I've been super involved with the girls' school activities, volunteering, and just doing so much. I remember the year that T graduated from fifth grade, and oh my gosh, I did the fifth grade party at our house, and it was so stressful because it was going to rain and then it wasn't, but we weren't sure, and everything's outside. We ended up having it. We just moved forward. It did rain at one point, but the kids still had fun. But I just poured my heart and soul into all that stuff. And I've kind of scaled back. I'm not doing that. And really, that started at the beginning of this year. So I feel the sense of freedom. I'm not really involved in doing teacher appreciation or end of the year class activities. And I'm just loving the break. I'm sure I'll get back into it and do something, but I'm just really enjoying the break. So I think that's what I meant. Yeah. I mean, at least in my town, graduation tickets are pretty limited. So I don't know. I think it's changed around the country, but I don't really know. It could be different in other places. I just know where I live, like, you're pretty limited. It's interesting too, and this is another thing about my town, which is sometimes frustrating. But for the prom, not everybody, like, they can't accommodate everybody going to the prom. I don't know exactly what that means, but I think it means like juniors and seniors. I mean, it's really the senior prom, but juniors go as well. So they recommend that you get your tickets early because they will sell out. And I kind of think like that's wrong. I think everybody should be able to go to the prom, or everybody at least as a senior, right? I don't know. I could be reading that wrong, but yes, I don't know. Yes, my nieces are graduating both from high school and college. And my niece, Kay, she is moving to Nashville. She's actually following in her aunt's footsteps. Her aunt is also a producer. And so she's always been drawn to it. So it's super exciting. I think my brother is kind of sad that both are leaving the nest. They will truly be empty nesters. I don't know how that's going to go down, to be honest. And for them, it feels like she's far away, but she's following her dream. And I think that's amazing. Oh, and you mentioned the yard sign thing. Like, yes, we do that as well. It is a little bit of, it's a contentious issue because people don't think it's environmentally friendly. So we do it, but because then like people like have the signs, but then they don't either recycle them or I don't know. I don't know what it is, but where I live, everything is like a contentious issue because we have a lot of people that like to analyze, debate, and think about things. Not that other places don't. It's just we have a premium. We'll just say that. I am so excited to show you an RK meme. No, I didn't realize that you had invited them to my wedding. Maybe just, that time was like a little bit of a blur because there was so much planning and different things going on that I just probably a lot just went right over my head. But so yeah, I'm super excited. I want you guys to come over to my in-laws' house and have a drink in front of the ocean and just see, where we go to the beach. And then, yes, I would love to maybe, I hope, spend your birthday in Cape Port and do some shopping and so exciting. I've not been to Bar Harbor either. Again, it's by the time we get to Kennebunkport, we're just like, okay, we're here. And, we're not going to go on like any day trips that are that far away because it's a lot of driving and we're there. We just like to relax. And yeah, I love the 4th of July parade and the fireworks. I mean, we don't always go to the fireworks now, but it's still just, but we do. I mean, for the most part, we do. I mean, we caught the tail end of them last year. But I don't know. It's just a fun time of year. And it's like, you know, like my birthday month and Jay's birthday month and so many people I know. And you kick it all off. So it's just the lead up in from spring into summer. It's just it just gives like a glimmer of hope that like, the warm weather, the ocean, everything, it's coming. It's right around the corner, especially after this past year where it was brutally cold and just nasty here on the East Coast. I feel. Yeah, I don't really like spring either. I don't like it. I don't like spring. I don't like fall. I know you do and many people do, like the apple picking, all that kind of stuff. Yes, it's fun, but the thing I don't like about either season is that it's wish-washy and you don't know what to wear on any given day. Whereas in the winter and the summer, you know it's going to be hot or cold. That's really why I don't like either season. I have to admit. I too like that my girls are staggered in terms of celebrations. T's graduation from middle school and high school won't be in the same year that Jay's are. And I actually really like that. I do have a bunch of friends this year in particular who have kids graduating from high school and college and vice versa. Anyways, I'm glad that it worked out that I don't have to do both in one year because it's a lot. I mean, and what often happens is that you lump both together and have one big party, which is fine. I just kind of like making it special for each person. So I feel lucky in that respect. I totally get what you mean about California and how it's cold in the shade and warm in the sun. I remember living in Northern California in Silicon Valley. And yeah, if you went in the shade, it was actually chilly. But if you went in the sun, it was hot, but it was like a burn versus like a wet heat. So it was a dry heat. But it was super hot. I know how much you love the humidity and the warm weather. It's funny. A also really likes the humidity because it's really good for his skin. He has really dry skin. And in the winter, he's so itchy and he's dying and he breaks out. It's so painful to watch. So, as much as it's like really hot, his skin just thrives. I know when we went to Colombia one summer, it was so super hot, but his skin was just, I mean, his skin was loving it. I just have to say. It's funny, right? Like the heat and the cold and kind of like the wet versus the dry. So interesting. I would have to say one of the downsides of being in more of a wet, hot area of the country is that T, my oldest, does have allergies and suffers from all the spring, summer, fall, winter, all the allergies, to be honest. Whereas in California, she really didn't. Granted, she was younger, but still, she was in kindergarten by the time we moved, and she never had any signs. But as soon as we moved to the East Coast, she did. And like the bugs, and the bites that show up on her, it's just like her skin does not like it. Whereas in Cali, we just didn't have that problem. We didn't have bugs. It's so ironic you were talking about how you would watch the weather reports on the East Coast when you were on the West Coast. I never looked at the weather when I lived on the East Coast, but when I moved to the West Coast, and like Northern California, we didn't really have weather, I got obsessed with the weather. Isn't that funny? Ironic is that? Anyways, spring is here, it's sprung, and I am happy because of what I have to look forward to, which is summer.
I just have to say, Habs, in this last minute, never, ever, ever go to Seattle, Washington. I know you said you have some bad memories of it. I, having lived there for 17 years, have lots of memories of Seattle. But since we kind of talked about weather with spring and summer coming on, like that low gray sky, that drizzle, 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 that, cool temperatures, it's like that all the time. I mean, you were mentioning spring and fall and how that drives you crazy. You could never live in Seattle. It's just like that all 12 months. There are some who may be listening who are living in Seattle right now saying no, But in fact, any day could go that way in Seattle. And if you do see the sun, it'll peak out around 2 p.m. It'll be gone as soon as the sun goes down. Any heat will be gone. And it's just the same old.
Thanks for listening to The Girls Who Gab with Habs and Muffy, where we share the plans we have in store for spring, from end-of-the-year school activities to travel plans, and why we are happy the season has arrived, because it means that we are that much closer to summer. Yay! For more, follow us on Instagram at Girls Who Gab with Habs and Muffy. Until next time, when we talk about people watching and the weird things we observe people doing in public. Wow.